Hello, this is Roland. Today I want to talk about something very important. I want to talk about prayer. Very important. First of all, I want to talk about basic question, does God answer prayers? And secondly, how to pray. So the first question, does God answer prayers? Yes, He does. You may remember that Christ prayed all the time. Over and over and over, He would pray. Often go off by Himself to pray. And He taught us the Lord's Prayer. And also in the Sermon on the Mount, He said, when you pray. He didn't say if you pray. He said when you pray. Okay? So let's talk about that. Now, Paul said told us to pray unceasingly. You're supposed to pray all the time. But how do you do that? Now Christ, in the Sermon on the Mount, said, don't be like the hypocrites, who utter empty words over and over again, thinking that by the number of words that they speak, they're going to be heard. So you see what the issue is there. We're supposed to pray unceasingly, but we're not supposed to go around mumbling empty words and formulas. Let's talk about that. How do you pray unceasingly? Well, let's see, have I dealt with the first topic? Does God answer prayers? Yes, otherwise Christ wouldn't pray. He wouldn't teach us to pray. Okay? So, it's, there's a couple of, like for example, there's the old joke where there was some kind of an issue, and then finally one guy said to the other one, he said, well, we've tried everything, there's only one thing left, and that's to pray. Okay, so it's like a last resort. No, the first thing we should do is pray. And keep praying. And do other things too, do what we can, but pray. Okay? So you see how that is. There's a cute story about the little girl who the minister came by the house to visit, and he talked to the parents, and he said to the little girl, he said, do you say your prayers every night when you go to bed, your bedtime prayers? She said no. He said, why not? She said, some nights there's nothing I want. Is that cute? And that's honest too. Okay, so it's okay to pray. Look, it's okay to pray for what you want. Okay? One time Christ said, you have not because you ask not. Okay, so we're supposed to ask. But how do you do? So now let's talk about that. This is very, very important. I say that you need to find a prayer space or a prayer place. You have to find a way where your soul, your consciousness, your awareness is separate from the imagination, the thought stream. Down in the subconscious you have a mishmash and a hodgepodge of endless images and chatter. Okay? Some of it is harmless, some of it's not so good. Mostly it's confusing, misleading, can mislead you. See, the ideas that come from down there can mislead you. So what do most of us do? We either struggle with that or we escape into it. See, most people spend an awful lot of time lost in their daydreams, planning and scheming and imagining and reliving the past and trying to rehearse the future and setting goals, daydreaming, just endless. Okay? And you're not going to find God down there. I always have said that. You're not going to find God down there. If you're going to find anybody down there, it's the guy with the horns. See, he talks to you through your imagination and through the voice in the mind. It says negative things. Okay, so where are you going to find God? In reality, in the moment. But to find Him, you need to find a prayer place, a prayer space, where you can reach him and he can reach you. Okay? It's like a holy space, sacred space. Okay? It really is. How about down in your imagination? You know what kind of thoughts you have sometimes. They're not so good. The thoughts and the images, they're not so good. Okay? So it's definitely not a holy space or a holy place down there. Now, if you can find a prayer place, okay, and start to pray unceasingly, then God's light enters your life. Okay? God's light shines into your mind. And then his light has a good effect on your thoughts. See, then when you have thoughts, there'll be noble thoughts, good thoughts, instead of the mean, revengeful, or lustful, or angry thoughts, or fearful or doubt thoughts that you have now. See, then there'll be good thoughts. Somewhere it says in the Bible that, I think it's Paul who says that every thought, or I think it said every thought must come under the lordship of Christ, or under the control of Christ, or every thought or every imagine. See, he talks about vain imaginings. See, instead of vain imaginings, we need to have eventually, not right away, but eventually all thoughts under Christ's control. See, then you would have noble thoughts. Okay? All right, so now this prayer place, this prayer space, this holy place, sacred space, how do you find that? Very easy. It's easy. You know how? Just get out of your imagination. Mentally stand back. Okay, I'm going to give you a very good example so you'll understand it perfectly when I give you this example. Have you ever been involved in an argument? You're talking to somebody, and then everything gets animated, and before long it's a little bit out of control. Instead of a discussion or a vigorous debate, now it's an argument, and all of a sudden you see that, and then you stand back. Okay, you take a step, you mentally step back. Okay, and now reason, calmness is brought to bear. Okay, here's another example. Very good. Two kids you know how kids can argue. So what do they call that? Sibling rivalry. So two children are arguing about, whose toy it is, or, something like that. Okay. Well, as the parent, okay, you're not to get involved in the argument, become emotionally involved in it. See, on the other hand, you don't want to be uncaring. See, so you want to be there, okay, concerned and engaged, but not involved emotionally. So you become like a referee. See, the referee is there, paying attention, but not involved. So with your thoughts, if you get involved in them, see, then you come up stained, because some of them are not so good. At best, they're confusing and misleading. So the best thing is to stand back from them. So there's the thoughts. It's like you're standing on the bank of a river, and the river's flowing by. Okay? You don't jump into the river and go speeding toward the rapids. No, you stand on the river and you watch the river flow by. So watch the thoughts flow by. Okay? Or like the general in the grandstand watching the parade by. Okay? Just watch it all parade by. Now what will happen is you're so used to getting lost in this thought stream that you'll keep falling into it, but then you'll keep snapping out. That's what the meditation helps you do. Once you start to meditate properly, then if you fall into excessive thought, then all of a sudden something will remind you. You'll become aware that you were involved in excessive thought, and now you're standing back from it again. See, see how that works? So it's very simple. So when you're not lost in thought, not lost in the imagination. See, those thoughts cater to your ego. See, that's the other thing. The thoughts, the imaginings, the revenge thoughts, the thoughts of love and lust and violence. Okay, that's what a lot of them are. Or negative thoughts. Oh no, worrying. See, those are all tempt. You see how they tempt you? They tempt you to fall. They're tempting, or they cater to your ego. They tell you what you want to hear. See, they tell you what you want to hear, but so they're tempting you to get involved with them. So what you need to do is stand back. But struggle is not going to work. Okay, what you need is a simple meditation to learn to just stand back and observe. So when you're not lost in the thoughts and imaginings anymore, then you have found, now you're in the moment, in reality, you're mindful. And with your soul, see, you're yearning for God, or yearning for truth. See, you'd like to have an answer to let's say there's some issue, you'd like an answer, okay? You don't know what to do, but you'd like to know, so you have it as you wonder about it. And you quietly, your soul quite silently, without words, you bring it to God. And then he answers. Okay? So you see how standing in this prayer place, now humbly, you can humbly petition. You don't even have to use words. It says, Christ said, your Father knows what you need before you even ask, okay? You don't have to use words. If you use words, okay. The only problem is words set up a conditioning process. You're so used to mumbling words all your life, It's probably just better to just quietly meditate, find that space. And then, see, it goes with you, the meditative space, the prayer place. The prayer space goes with you as you go out in the world. So now you go out in the world. You can be a mom, dad, student, husband, wife, whatever, okay? Worker, colleague. So there you are out in the world doing, you're working and studying and having recreation and doing all the things that you do, okay? But it's like a quiet presence in your background, like a strain of beautiful music follows you all day long, okay? All because you have an attitude of wanting to know the truth, see, wanting to get closer to God, and then using the little technology of the meditation.